Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Partner Connect by Advisorkhoj. आज पार्टनर कनेक्ट में मेरे साथ बहुत ही मेरे करीबी मित्र जुड़े हैं, मिस्टर धीरज मित्तल फ्रॉम प्राइम कैपिटल एमएफ डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स न्यू दिल्ली. वेलकम धीरज टू पार्टनर कनेक्ट.
Thank you so much.
हाउ आर यू?
Great.
बहुत समय के बाद हमारी मुलाकात हो रही है आज.
Certainly, certainly.
सो धीरज, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि पार्टनर कनेक्ट इज अ प्रोग्राम, इज एन एपिसोड वेयर हम वी पार्टनर्स के साथ जुड़ते हैं, आप जैसे पार्टनर से जुड़ते हैं. वी अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आर योर इंस्पिरेशनल जर्नीज, राइट? व्हाट आर द प्रोसेसेस यू फॉलो इन क्लाइंट एंगेजमेंट. सो उसी सिलसिले में आज आपके साथ हम कॉन्वर्सेशन करेंगे.
Sure.
सो सबसे पहले तो मेरे जो माइंड में सवाल आता है दैट व्हाट prompted Dhiraj to start as a mutual fund distributors, to start Prime Capital MF Distributors?
It was 2003, and by that time we had already spent 15 years in managing stocks portfolio of our investors. And in those portfolios, we were doing a lot of listed mutual funds at that time.
Acha.
But there were listed mutual funds like Morgan Stanley, which were quoting at a discount. So we used to hunt the markets for listed instruments which are available at a discount, and many investors gained a lot of money in that process. So by 2003, they requested us to manage their mutual fund portfolios also. So it was basically push by the investors that we went this side. And once we researched deep into it, we found that it is a much efficient and a scalable way to manage money. So
Sure.
that's we did a somersault and we shut down that division and started this.
So this is from 2003 onwards.
Yeah, 2003 onwards.
So आज की डेट में what is the total assets which you manage for the mutual funds?
Mutual fund we are managing around 1700 crores, and that is the only product we do.
Actually, that is the only product. Okay. And how many clients across?
We would be having something like probably 500, 600 families.
Wonderful, wonderful. So एक बात बताइए धीरज, when a new client is coming to invest, how do you induct that new client? You know, is there a process which you follow?
Yeah. We have a very strict process. First step in the process is that the investor has to sit in a 45-minute session that I personally deliver, irrespective of the size of the client.
That is very unique, huh?
Even if the client is doing 1,000 rupees SIP, then also I deliver a 45-minute session. And in that session, I educate the investor on all the aspects of investing, taxation, compounding, wealth creation, asset allocation, everything that he needs to know. And my being a chartered accountant helps a lot. I understand taxation and wealth. And I did my CFP in 2006. So that also contributes a lot on teaching them about financial planning. Once that session is done, then only a client can come on board.
I see.
Any time if clients are not interested in the session, then we don't sign them.
Right.
Because if we and the client are not on the same page, then that relationship will not last.
Very true.
So that is the first step. Now, next we do is the risk profiling. And post risk profiling, an asset allocation is set for the portfolio and preferably at the wealth level. We advise clients to set the asset allocation at the wealth level because portfolio is a small part of the wealth. And the asset allocation is kept keeping in mind the risk profile, the goals, the return requirement of the investor and all those things. And once that asset allocation is set, that is religiously followed. Of course, the client is at liberty to revise it when any change happens in their financial situation. But till then, it is religiously followed. And any 5% variation leads to a rebalance. That again is subject to the client's acceptability.
Sure.
If they don't accept, but it is our duty to point out. So that's how things are done.
Wonderful. So basically, एक 45 minute का you have a induction through you, personally, face to face. And उसी में आप risk profiling, rebalancing, asset allocation, complete education and understanding client happens much better.
Yeah, I'm a fan of storytelling.
अच्छा.
So if I deliver that session personally, so I am
हाँ.
able to explain in the form of a story
हाँ.
to which he can relate, and that
Right.
story is generally related to his situation or his profession or his business.
Right.
So
एक
that's
एक
how.
सवाल मेरे जो माइंड में आता है वही है, जब ये क्लाइंट्स आते हैं आपके पास, व्हाट आर
Yeah.
दे लुकिंग फॉर? व्हाट आर दे लुकिंग फॉर?
See, when the clients come to us, they are primarily looking at us to demystify the mutual fund space for them, because they hear so much about the mutual funds and a lot of people are chasing them to invest in them, but nobody makes any effort to educate.
हम्म.
So first objective is to understand, though they don't tell us in so many words,
हम्म.
but type of questions they raise, then we know that that is what they want to know. And
श्योर.
obviously they want to create wealth. That is the.
राइट. एंड आप periodically उनका रिस्क प्रोफाइलिंग, you keep revising, checking?
Yeah, we keep revising the risk profiling, not on a specific period,
Okay.
but on a specific event,
Right.
in the sense that if there is a major downside in the market and we see a lot of concern and a lot of queries and a lot of fear in a particular investor,
Sure.
then that time we advise him that once the market normalizes, then we will revisit the asset allocation. That is one. Second, if there is any change in the financial situation of the investor,
Hmm.
maybe a divorce, loss of job, loss in business, and retirement, or anything like that, that is the time for revising the asset allocation.
Sure.
So these are
Sure.
the.
अच्छा, व्हाट आई हैव ऑब्जर्व्ड धीरज इज दैट क्लाइंट्स को ना टैक्स अवर्जन बहुत ज्यादा है. कभी कभी बोलते हैं कि हमें टैक्स नहीं कटवाना, और बट दे आर स्टक विद द प्रोडक्ट, विच इज अंडर परफॉर्मिंग, और बिकॉज दे जस्ट डोंट वांट टू पे टैक्सेस, बिकॉज म्यूचुअल फंड में रियलाइज बेसिस पे है. सो हाउ डू यू डील विथ चेंजिंग द इन्वेस्टर बिहेवियर टुवर्ड्स टैक्स अवर्जन?
देखिए ये दिस इज अ बिग menace and primarily the government and the industry is responsible for this,
हाँ.
because firstly the subject of personal finance has not been taught in any school, college, or any profession. I am a chartered accountant. I was never taught personal finance. My daughter works with me. She's an MBA. She was never taught personal finance.
Hmm.
So that is the first. The government is responsible for that. That is the first thing.
Right.
Secondly, in our industry also, we are importing concepts from the West and mindlessly implementing it.
Hmm.
And in the West, the concept is that aap tax avoid karo, you just stay invested. But that concept, if we mindlessly implement here, is not applicable, because the concept there they talk about is the ETFs, index funds, and all. There, that's
Hmm.
fine, because there is an internal adjustment that is happening in the scheme. But when you are into a managed fund, there is a fund manager, and you have to assess the performance of that fund
Right.
manager. If the fund manager underperforms for an extended period of time, and there is reason to believe
Hmm.
that the underperformance is likely to stay, then you have to exit that. What we try to educate is that by showing them the numbers, in the sense
Hmm.
that let's say an investment is 100 rupee investment has become 150, and now it's
Hmm.
time to change. Then one has to pay the tax only on the 50 rupees.
Hmm.
So if you pay tax on 12.5% of 50 rupees, so
Hmm.
that comes to about 6 rupees.
Absolutely.
So 6 rupees on 150 is 4%.
Yes.
So if we believe that our investment can get that 4% additional in the next 1 or 2 years, then you should certainly do that.
Correct.
And this is a big disservice that we are doing to the investors by not changing the schemes. It's a
Sure.
double whammy for the investors, because firstly, they are saddled with low yielding investment. And secondly, they don't realize that the tax rates are headed up. Till 2018, it was 0, then it was 10, and now it is 12.5. And I will not be surprised that in next few years, we are at 25%.
Hmm.
Globally, the capital gain tax rate is north of 20%, and we are
Hmm.
still at 12.5.
Right.
So sooner than later, these investors will be saddled with a huge liability, tax liability, because they have not been taking out their laggards. In
Sure.
most of the portfolio, the wealth they have created, our investors have created, is not pre-tax, it's post-tax,
Hmm.
because we keep regularly reviewing the portfolio.
Sure. 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 And you.
And despite all our best efforts, only half of the half of our clients we are able to convince.
मैं ये अगला सवाल आपसे पूछने वाला था कि सक्सेस रेशियो क्या है, तो ओनली हाफ.
Success ratio is 50% because क्या है, इंडिया में एक मेजर इशू है in the mindset of investors that everything in their life they want a specialist to do their job, from a plumber to an electrician to everything. But when it comes to money management,
They want to do it themselves.
In the driving seat without any understanding of the subject. So this is a big menace. But since we can only recommend, we cannot force them. So it's up to the client. But sooner than later, the client comes around.
Absolutely.
It takes some time. And thanks to the rising tax rate, Nirmala ji is doing, which I believe she will continue to do, and the rising cesses, that investors sooner than later realize. And one thing most investors forget, that as we grow wealthy, as our portfolios grow, higher tax in absolute terms is a way of life.
Absolutely. It's a way of life.
Like when we started this business, a client started with a portfolio of 5 lakhs. Now that portfolio is 50 crores. Even if we assume a 15% return on a 50 crore, 7.5 crores of earnings in a year means at least 1 crore tax has to go every year. Why do you want to wish away tax? It's annual earnings. So we put in a lot of efforts on educating the client, but because we don't get support from the industry and from our peers, it's a Herculean task. Because India में क्या है और globally भी है कि when you don't know something, you rely on the intelligence of the masses. अब masses नहीं कर रहे and we are the lone ranger, so it becomes a very difficult problem.
Right. Absolutely. Very true. तो जब एक क्लाइंट है जो आपके साथ काफी सालों से जुड़ा है and he's created a lot of wealth by investing in mutual funds. So how do you educate that client's next generation, which is practically inheriting all that wealth, that they should continue keeping this money or rather grow with this money? How do you educate them?
That's a very tough job, because what happens invariably in every family, that there is a generation gap between one generation and the other. So the younger generation assume themselves to be much smarter than the older generation. And this education can happen in two ways. One is that the younger generation go on Google and try to learn half-baked concepts. Or the younger generation trusts the older generation, and the older generation brings them to us, and we are able to educate. So the onus lies on the investor to bring their next generation. We request all our clients every now and then कि आप अपनी next generation को लाइए, bring them to us on a Zoom call. We'll deliver in a session on investment management. Those who are able to do that, the portfolio easily passes from one generation to another. And those who are not able to do that, once the investor passes away, the portfolio gets liquidated, it gets into insurance products, FDs, real estate, and all.
Sure.
See, because something which the industry is not doing, and if we do only on our own, it doesn't get accepted.
Absolutely.
So ये industry-wide initiative होना चाहिए कि training the next generation.
Absolutely. रिव्यूज की अगर हम बात करें तो हाउ ऑफन डू यू रिव्यू योर क्लाइंट्स पोर्टफोलियो, एंड अगर आपको एक फंड दिख रहा है जो काफी टाइम से अंडर परफॉर्म कर रहा है, करेक्ट, एंड आपने पूरा अपना रिसर्च कर लिया फॉर द रीजंस ऑफ अंडर परफॉर्मेंस एंड यू आर योरसेल्फ कन्विंस्ड दैट देयर इज एन एग्जिट कॉल फ्रॉम दिस फंड, so how do you reach out to an investor for your periodic reviews, and what's your thought around rebalancing of this portfolio specifically in moments like these?
See, firstly, when we look at the underperformance, it has to be related to the peers.
Yes.
If the market is not doing well, fund is not doing well, that's fine. That we have to wait it out. Now, in our scheme of things, we have classified all the investors into two categories. One is cooperative, the other is non-cooperative. Non-cooperative investors are those who have firmly told us that they are not interested in changing schemes, because they have read somewhere in Google that long-term means hold forever. They don't realize that long-term means holding forever, but not necessarily the same securities. Even if we look at the indices, the most popular indices in the country, they also keep changing their portfolios.
Rebalancing hota hai.
Yeah, rebalancing hota hai. So if the client is in the non-cooperative category, then we cannot directly tell him. For the other clients, we ensure a few things. Firstly, the holding has to be long term. We can't be writing off a fund within 1 year. We have to give at least 1 year. Because after 1 year, there are no exit loads and it is tax neutral. So there is no cost of changing the fund. So after 1 year, if the scheme is not performing, then we point it out to the investor that you should look at the scheme. And then it is the investor discretion to either change, or if he has some impending needs, we mark those schemes, and at the time of that needs, we can take that up.
Sure.
But before writing of a scheme, we do all the due diligence. We talk to the fund management and everything. We try to assess the reason.
Right.
Only few reasons for which schemes underperform.
Sure.
You can list that.
Sure. तो सारा रिसर्च करके बैकग्राउंड करके क्लाइंट को समझ के देन द सजेशन हैपेंस दैट ओके लेट्स डू दिस इंस्टेड ऑफ दैट and you can recommend that, and then after that client's consent, and then you proceed.
Our job is to point out.
Correct.
End of the day is the client discretion.
Absolutely.
And there also only half of them do.
Correct. Absolutely.
Because again the whole industry is not doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Industry is more interested in acquiring new clients than maintaining efficiency.
Right.
I'll tell you an interesting. I used to attend Warren Buffett's AGM in Omaha. So in that, if I remember correctly, 2015 AGM, somebody asked Warren Buffett, what are the core reasons for your success? So he said there are 3 principles that are very dear to him, and he ascribed all his success to those 3 reasons. First is integrity. There is no compromise on integrity, and this is the first reason. First step. Second is competent. Third is efficiency. अब integrity हमारी industry में ये है कि you should not recommend any product to a client where you won't invest. And performance should only be the criteria while selecting a scheme, not a popular brand name or something. But still you find a lot of unworthy schemes getting sold collectively. Second, competence. If we look at our industry, 99% of the advisors are either two-timing or they have come to this industry because there was an easy entry. Only 1% have come with a professional relevant qualification and are doing it as a full-time job, not two-time. Look at all the bankers, two-timing, three-timing in mutual funds.
Absolutely.
Third is efficiency. If we look at our growth rate is among the lowest in this industry. Because we spend more time on maintaining efficiency in the portfolios than on getting new business. But efficiency is very dear to us because that is the only thing for which we exist.
Right.
We are not into collecting money. We are into maintaining efficiency.
Absolutely.
So taking cues from those AGM, that's what we have been practicing, and that's the part of our logos.
So with these core principles, which you are running Prime Capital MF Distributors with these 3 core valuable principles, what message would you like to give today through Partner Connect to all the new entrants coming in as mutual fund distributors? Because आपको तो बहुत जबरदस्त ज़्यादा experience है. What message would you like to give to them so that they can, improvise and grow their business, dealing with the client, dealing with compliances, regulation, processes much more efficiently as they grow their business? What that one message should be?
See, I find this distribution business a very noble profession. And I would suggest everybody to take it like that. It should not be they should not look it as product selling thing. They take it as a noble profession. I can tell you from my experience that if I look at my friend list, actual friends, not on the Facebook or LinkedIn, 99% of my friends have I become friends with. They were first clients and now they're friends. And I have people who have been dealing with me for the last 35 years, 35 years. And they regularly call to thank me for all the wealth they have created and all the goals they have been able to achieve because of me. But actually, it was their discipline and their foresight which led to wealth creation. But they, in their kindness, give the credit to me. So it's a very enjoyable profession. I would suggest the younger generation to firstly read a lot, read about the best wealth creators in the world, from Buffett to Ramdev to Jujunwala and all this. So they should be thoroughly read. Secondly, they should have a relevant qualification in the sense the CFP course helps a lot. It gives you a better perspective. And be focused. It will be slow in the beginning. They may take 5 years to reach somewhere. At least it's very rewarding.
Sure, absolutely. Wonderful. So for our viewers, this is Mr. Dhiraj Mittal from Prime Capital MF Distributors, New Delhi. Thank you very much, Dhiraj, for joining us today for Partner Connect by Advisorkhoj. I think जो youngsters mutual fund distributors जो enter कर रहे हैं इस line में, and like yes, I absolutely agree, it's a very very noble line. With all the processes जो आपने share किए हैं about the induction, about you personally sitting for 45 minutes and taking the client through what mutual fund is all about, the entire risk profiling, asset allocation, tax aversion, next generation hand holding, etc. I think बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिलेगा उनको आज आपके through, आपकी wisdom के through. So thank you very much, Dhiraj, for joining in today.
Thanks to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.